This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, we're recording now. Okay. I want to be able to meet people as much as I can, but some of the normal stuff right now isn't happening because we can't do it. We can't be sure we're doing it safely. So it was my goal to introduce myself to people and to encourage people to engage with me. And if you do send me an email, which is really easy to do on the county board website, um, and you live in my district, in our district, please indicate that, because we like to let each supervisor answer the questions in their own district, because I think that's pretty fair. All right, so one of the big things that I run into and I ran into when I was doing doors in December and January, was the fact that people didn't know what a county board supervisor did. So it's kind of my goal to, give you that information. So I currently live in Cross Plains. So I always lived in Wisconsin. I was born in Neenah, and I moved to Dane County in 1989. My mom was a single mom, and she got a secondary degree and found a job at the DMV, actually. And it was great because Dane County offered some opportunities that, we didn't have in our hometown. I'm a Middleton High School graduate, 1992. I graduated from Capri College of Cosmetology in 1995. That school doesn't exist here in Wisconsin anymore. There's one in Iowa. And I am 3/4 of a degree finished with a political science and economics degree. My plan is to actually finish that once finances allow, but right now is not the time. But I want to always make sure that I put out there I do not have that degree, because I don't want people to, well, she lied. And it's not true. It is an area of interest in me, and I feel like it is a very solid educational foundation when it comes to representing people in public office. I've done a lot of things. I've been a hairdresser for 27 years, and I've done all corners of that industry. I've done photo shoots and editorial work. I've done stage and platform artist work. I've been an in-house educator for a salon that I worked in town, and I branched out and became a salon owner for a while. And after that, I explored being in education. So now I am a beauty school instructor. And like everybody else right now, I'm learning what that means in the time of the COVID-19 pandemic. So the one thing I love about my industry is it's highly regulated for safety and sanitation purposes. So they really stress that education before we go back into the workforce, because we touch a lot of people and we want everybody to be safe in the process. So other things I've done, I've been a Sunday school teacher. I've been a PTO mom. In my time, I've been a runner. I've done a little of a lot of things, but government and our political system and how that works has always been an interest to me. So that's kind of why I was always engaged in that. And then I ran for office because I moved to Dane. I moved from Middleton to Madison to Fitchburg, and then moved across Plains 5 years ago. And having had to take advantage of some of the services that Dane County offers, there was a very big difference in being able to use those services and have them available to me in Madison or Fitchburg than there was out in Cross Plains. And the further out you get, it's even more so. So I feel like it's my job for our district to remind when we make policy, remind the board when we make policy that we need to be equitable in the way we include the people that are outside of Madison. So here's a little bit of overview of what we're planning on doing today. And this is just going to be the first of more of these things. We decided that since I wanted to do this, I'm the first supervisor that gets to try out this format. So if this works out well, then you're probably going to see a lot more of other supervisors as well. But I wanted to start out with the overview of Dane County government because I think in order to ask questions and to, come to me with questions, it's important to know what I do and what I can't do and what I'm willing to do for you. So the services, departments, and the legislative process are all part of that. We're going to touch on county board initiatives right now, some of the stuff that are really relevant and the things that we're working on when we have our monthly meetings. And then we're going to open it up to question and answers. And so you can type them in the chat. You can, hopefully there were some that were asked ahead of time, but it is my goal to make sure that I give thorough answers and give good answers. So while I have some of the shorter answers to some of the questions, I am going to make compile a list of the questions that I've been getting. And we're going to put that in like a frequently asked questions thing. And if you go to the Dane County Board of Supervisors website and click on the supervisors, there's like an introduction and info page for us and contact information. And below that, in another tab, it says blog. So I plan to utilize that a little bit more so that people can understand like my thought process on some of the things and the questions that I might have for you guys on how you would like to utilize my voice in the board. And then there's contact information. I encourage people to reach out to me, email me, you can call me and leave me a message, a voicemail. I don't always pick up all the time, but I always try to call everybody back at a polite time. So, all right, here's the Dane County overview. So Dane County, it has it has the county executive. So he is the chief, Joseph Provisi is our Dane County executive. He's the chief elected official, and he's responsible for the overall operation and management of Dane County. He was elected as county executive in 2011 and was reelected in 2013 and 2017 for 4-year terms in his position. There are 37 county board supervisors currently. The Dane County Board of Supervisors is a legislative and policy-making body for the county government. So we're not the ones that make the quick decisions and react to what's going on right away. We actually discuss and gather information, and we're the ones that legislate and make sure that the decisions we are making are, going to be the right ones for you. We really do have the best interests of the people of Dane County with whatever decisions we do make. Let's see. The 37 supervisors represent districts based on population. This is a nonpartisan seat, and I actually take that seriously. Okay, what are we doing? Okay. I think if the live stream stops, bear with me for a second because we'll get right on to that. Is it back? Hopefully I didn't lose anybody too long. Okay, we're live. Okay. I wanted to stress that this is a nonpartisan position I hold, and I take that seriously. Michelle Doolan has a lot of opinions on how things should work. But Supervisor Doolan is one of 13,000 some voices in District 28. And I take that seriously. I want to represent what you have to say in the most fair and reasonable manner I can and portray us as a group of people to the county board. Let's see, nonpartisan elections for all supervisors are held on the first Tuesday in April. of even numbered years. So if you don't know who your supervisor is, those April elections, they're really important actually. Local government makes so many more impactful decisions on your day-to-day life than the big ones. So keep that in mind. I'm sure you've learned that now based on some of the things that are going on. And so I think it's important that you get to choose who that person is who represents you. Annalise Eicher is of Sun Prairie, and she currently serves as the county board chair. A little known fact about her, she was the one that came with me to go around in the freezing cold downtown Crops Plain and Mazomanie and Black Earth and Blue Mounds to get the signatures I needed to qualify for the ballot. Right. So the Dane County Board is, let's see. Yeah, Dane County Board is nonpartisan. Okay. And we represent the needs and the welfare of the residents of Dane County, and we set policy for operations like in the area of human needs, in infrastructure, criminal justice, the environment, and county finance. There's all of us there. I found it interesting. I mentioned earlier that my picture on this, I look like my grandma. So I thought that was kind of funny. Okay, so standing committees. So when I get elected to office, then we get appointed to standing committees. Each county board supervisor is appointed to one of the 6 standing committees, and this is where much of the debate and on the issues occur. So they first get proposed to the standing committees that basically represents basically, we can't all be experts on everything all of the time. So that's where the committees come in. That way we can focus on being really good at doing this job. Now, it doesn't mean we don't know anything about anything else, because we all have to vote on it in the end. But this way, we get as much information as we can before it goes to the board for a final vote. So environmental, agricultural, natural resources, health and human needs, personnel and finance, public protection, judiciary and public works, transportation and zoning, and land regulation. I'm actually on the zoning and land regulation committee now, which is pretty awesome because a lot of what we do, especially with townships and this area, zoning and land regulation is a huge deal. So I like the fact that I get the most engagement out of people that way. And anybody is welcome to come and sit in and listen on to any of those meetings. You are welcome. So, okay, the population of Dane County has doubled during the past 50 years, according to UW-Madison Applied Population Laboratory. Dane County's population will increase to 606,620, nearly 25% by the year 2040. Its 2014 estimated population of 516,283 accounts for 40% of the state's total growth since the 2010 census. I'll be interested in seeing how the 2020 census plays out in that light. Since its information as a territorial county in 1836, population growth has been constant. There are definitely advantages to having population. Some of the things, some of the funding that we have, and some of the advantages we have because of our population are due to our population. The good news is that it's my job to make sure that rural Dane County benefits from that as well. The Dane County budget. The 2020 operating capital budget is $663.3 million. Looking at that the first time, I was like, oh my gosh. You know, like, it's one thing to conceptually understand that number. The other, being responsible for where that money goes is a huge deal. Sources of revenue include funds from the state and federal government, sales tax, property tax, fines, and forfeitures. So the organizational structure of the departments within Dane County's government include general government, public safety, criminal justice, conservation and economic development, culture, education, recreation, public works, and health and human services department. So general government stuff, what a government does, especially in Dane County. It provides executive, legislative, administrative, financial, record keeping, legal, and building maintenance functions for Dane County. So we have the executive and administration. And so when something comes up and the Dane County executive announces something about a mandate or a decision, that is part of the Dane County executive. There's a county board, which is, again, the ones who debate over policy. There's the county clerk, there's the treasurer, there's corporation counsel, and the register of deeds. Things I didn't know when I came on, I guess I kind of knew. Corporation counsel is the one that makes sure that we legally can do some of the things that we want to do. We just want to make sure that we do things with transparency, fairness, and follow the law. Conservation and economic development. Again, out here, that's really a big deal, right? We provide the planning and land management, land protection, waste management, and recycling functions of Dane County. We have a land information office. There's planning and development, land and water resources, including conservation and solid waste. Like the people that are concerned about Black Earth Creek being a nationally recognized trout stream, I think is really important. And so I sort of feel like it's our job, especially out here, to protect our resources. That's our huge asset here, is how beautiful it is out here. The other thing I didn't know is how interesting it was. We had a little overview at the beginning on what the landfill does. If you ever get a chance to actually take a tour of that, I know it sounds really weird, but I found it incredibly fascinating. I didn't expect that. Public safety and criminal justice, something that's really in the news right now, right? It provides the legal, safety, disaster planning and response, and death investigation functions for Dane County. Within that, we have the clerk of courts, the sheriff, family court counseling, public safety and communications, the medical examiner, emergency management, the district attorney, and the juvenile court system. We're also responsible for culture and education and recreation. There's that part, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We should want to like our lives. So that's part of our job too. So we make sure we have good libraries, that our land and water resources are clean and good and available. The Alliant Energy Center, which brings a lot to Dane County. I've seen a lot of concerts out there. And extension, like the extension. The extension, educational UW extensions, and the Henry Vilas Zoo. And when I moved down here, having a free zoo, that was pretty crazy. It was kind of awesome. Health and Human Services departments, they provide the human services and veterans assistance functions for Dane County. Human Services, Veterans Services Office, and the Board of Health for Madison and Dane County. Public Works provides infrastructure, maintenance, and transportation functions for Dane County. Public Works, highway, and transportation. I mean, if they're repaving Highway 14 right now, well, anything that is part of county, in the county's jurisdiction to do, that's what we take care of. We also, the Dane County Airport is part of that function. And here's a little outline of the legislative process. So when we have a resolution ordinance amendment, so we have an idea, we want to make this happen. Okay, we look at what's already there, we say we either need to change that or we need to rearrange it. And that's when we go to if we're outside the department that handles that sort of thing, we will go to the chair of that department and ask them to look it over. The department drafts the resolution and puts it into Legistar. Legistar is that place where you can go and you can look up all of this stuff. All of the stuff we do is all published on the internet. So we want you to be able to find it if you need it. If you'd rather just email me and find it for you, I can do that too. It's a lot. It really is. Even I have to email the office and ask where some stuff is. So, and then we discuss. We kind of review that process. Then it goes to corporate counsel and court counsel and the comptroller to approve, and then it ends up in the clerk's office. So court counsel makes sure that everything is on the up and up. Clerk's office prints the item and is circulation for sponsors in the Dane County Board meeting. So last night after the Dane County Board meeting, we got a list of the stuff that we're going to be looking at for our next Dane County Board meeting. We all have a chance to read everything that's going to be on the agenda ahead of time, and we can decide if we want to sponsor that bill to help push it, help with that. A lot of the ones I do sponsor have to do with land regulation. I like to be on things that really directly affect District 28 in some way. Also, general personal safety and management. I think that's also really, we rely on government to manage our safety and our security, so, and our well-being. County government, let's see, so it goes to the sponsors. County board chair makes referrals to the county clerk's office and puts that on the registrar. Committees consider it an act, and then when all have acted with a positive vote, then the item is put on the county board agenda. So committees talk about it first, and then it goes on the county board agenda, and we talk about it. And we have a chance then, we can actually just say, hey, we like this entire thing. Or we can say, in the process of discussing this, we want to separate this one piece. I need to know more about that before I say yes. And then anybody who has a personal interest in any of the personal stake in any of the points of a policy that's up for a county board vote, if you hear one of us abstain from voting, that's usually what it is. It's not fair for us if we're voting for our own personal interest. So we want the public's interest to come first. And if it passes, it's signed legislation. County executive signs or vetoes. And if it vetoes, it goes back to the county board and we see what it can do to keep it going further. That's a mouthful, isn't it? All right, current issues. Current topics, redistricting. That's a really huge one right now. If you want to know more about the redistricting process, I recommend contacting Roger Lane in zoning because he knows everything he knows everything about zoning and land management. It's actually pretty cool. Then criminal justice system reform. So we want to make sure that we are fair. We have a criminal justice system that works for everybody. We want to make sure it's equitable. Those kind of things are what we're discussing right now. So we want to hear from you and what you have to say about that. And we want to know your questions about it too. And then budget, that will begin in public hearings in September. And the COVID-19 funding priorities. So some of the stuff that, some of the money that we get from the state, we actually discuss where that's going to go and how we allocate those funds so it's best used for what it needs to be. Okay, that's a big mouthful. So I want to open this up to any questions. If you are actually on YouTube, you can either put it in the chat. Otherwise, we do have somebody on the phone who can ask questions as well. So does anybody have any questions? Try to let me know if he's out there.
There are no questions on YouTube right now.
Okay. All right. Let's see, how much time do we have? It's 12:30. Talking for a half hour straight. We definitely wanted to leave it open for that. Also, this is going to be recorded, so if you want to go back and take a look at some of the information, it will be there. Some of the things, I guess what I will do is talk a little bit about some of the questions I've been getting by email and phone call. Just in case if you don't know, I call constituents back. I like to talk to people. Sometimes I like to talk to people too much, but I actually am interested in what everybody has to say in earnest. So please reach out to me. No question is dumb. One of the things that is big on the agenda is COVID-19 test sites. I'm working with public health to get some information on, like, current up-to-date information on what's going to happen next as far as testing sites. We're looking to put testing sites closer to the outer edge of Dane County, so we don't have to drive 40 minutes to get to the Alliant Energy Center if we need testing. As far as the mask ordinance goes, I know that is, people can't actually talk about that without getting really, people really care about it one way or another, right? This is uncertain times, and so the mask ordinance was, that's Dane County Public Health. So as much as I would love, people will say, well, vote against that. So those ordinances and things that have to do with current emergency response in the moment, that is decided by the executive. So it was nothing we voted on. It is something, I'm not a public health officer and I'm not a scientist. So we would want experts in public health and health management and infection spread and the capacity with which the hospitals can handle patients. And so all those things go into their decision making. So if you have a question, please contact Dane County Public Health. They're the ones that can better answer it than I can. And yes, actually, public health does have the authority. There is a statute, Dane County statute for that. And I will actually post that in the blog in case you want to check that out. Let's see. About Black Lives Matter and criminal justice reform, that's been a huge deal. One of the things I can stress about that particular thing is that when I first ran, I met with the Dane County Deputy Sheriff's Association about some of the things that they had concerns about when it comes to first responders safety and public safety out in the edges of Dane County. And I feel like they absolutely need more support in many ways. I think one size fits all is not the environment we currently live in. So the board has membership in the Criminal Justice Council, and each member in that council has their authority. And all the decisions that we're making going forward are actually, we have this really wonderful Criminal Justice Council that has educated people who have taken data, like carefully researched data on the success rates of certain initiatives and measures and approaches to criminal justice system. And so as far as equity, equality, and just how the first responders respond to it. I think that's all very important. So we don't make a decision just like that and have it go. I think that we owe it to everybody to make those decisions very carefully. The good news is if you come to me with a concern and you want to get involved and learn as much as you can, I highly recommend sitting in on the committee meetings for the criminal justice CGC, because I've learned a lot there. I've learned a lot there. So it helps put me, I think information is power, right? It's easy to be afraid of something we don't know. And we can't know everything. Let's see. As far as the state of emergency declaration, that was extended. Declaration doesn't mean like the sky is falling. Declaration dedicates the full allocation of county resources available to ensure the continuation of core county services in the midst of the pandemic. So the pandemic doesn't interrupt some of the things that we absolutely need for everybody in Dane County. That's what it is. It's like a legal term. A state of emergency definitely was something that allowed us to drop on FEMA funds during the flooding a few years back. So it's not that the declaration may also follow the county to more effectively we can seek federal reimbursement for public expenses as it's incurred as a result of the response work that we're doing. And then all public sector entities in Dane County, local governments and schools are encouraged to closely track, expenses related to work underway to keep people safe. We want to be responsive to everybody so that everybody has the tools to be safe in the event of emergency, and COVID-19 is no exception to that. People are asking about schools reopening, and two places I would direct you to weigh in on that. One is get to know your school district and your school board. That is like the most local of local governments, and they will answer questions. You can, again, open meetings law, you can sit in on that and talk about what the plan is. And then there's the Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction that manages the entire state. So we're, a lot of times the state of Wisconsin will defer to the individual school boards for certain things. I mean, what works in Madison doesn't work at Wisconsin Heights. What works in Milton might not work in Stoughton. So we want to make sure that we meet the unique needs of each school district. But yeah, absolutely ask questions of the Department of Public Instruction. As far as rezoning, again, the zoning administrator, Roger Lane, the public, there's a way to apply to be on that committee when it comes to rezoning. And since rural representation has a huge stake in that, I would encourage you to apply for that because we need voices out there. I need you to help me help you out with that because I don't get to be on that. We don't want to risk having somebody who is elected benefit from that. We want people to benefit from that. And then, let's see, lots of people are frustrated with things like unemployment. That is a state issue. So, unfortunately, there's nothing I can do about that. I can't actually, again, as Michelle Doolan, I can reach out to some of those agencies and talk to them, but I have any place that I have no authority. It would be a violation of my oath of office to try to reach in and do influence something outside of my lane, for my own personal gain. So I try to stay away. I take that, want to represent you well. Let's see, let's see. So unemployment, that is with the state. I wish I knew more about that. Let's see, on COVID questions. So public health has a ton of information on their website, including there is a really great breakdown on the mask ordinance itself, how it applies and how it doesn't apply. Nobody's going to go out and get arrested. But it's going to really require a lot of public cooperation. I wear a mask every time I go out. And as I am personally part of the vulnerable population, I really appreciate everybody who does wear a mask. I do it so I protect other people from my germs. So I don't want to do anything that would risk your safety. Also, let's see, you can also, and this is something I actually did early on when we all started staying at home back in March, something called 211 with specific questions, or email the PHMDC coronavirus at publichealthmdc.com, and I will make sure I put that up in my blog, so that you have some of these links to these websites and know where to go with that. And it's kind of hard to navigate some of that. And let's see. Oh, also, if you have any specific questions that are outside of my department at Dane, you can always ask on the Engage Dane at countyofdane.com. That's kind of the place where you can ask a question and you're going to more likely get a faster answer sometimes than what I can give, because I'll have to ask somebody to ask somebody else to ask somebody else, because I'm still learning where my place is in this. So I'm learning right along with you. Okay. I've talked myself a little crazy here. Does anybody have any questions? So I'm here to answer anything or want to say anything. Even if it comes down to, you'd like to do this again. Or actually, the other thing, if you wanted to do, is email me if you have specific topics you want me to touch on, because that's kind of an important thing too, or just to have a chat. We could do this and have more of a roundtable discussion. We're trying to do that now, but I really want to thank those of you who have tuned into this. It will still be on the YouTube channel if you want to go back and review anything. And I appreciate any comments or commentary, and I really appreciate you who have come to listen.